using it the way you're using it, you're not going to be able to decouple it, yeah. Assuming that you're not going to separate the two stages, you want to keep them together, you're just planning on keeping it there. Yeah, it only works that way if you're actually going to separate.
So, will I still have access to the stuff when we land? And can there's no Kerbal inside of any of that. So
The top
now,
portion.
yeah. So that's keeping the fairing the entire time.
You're going to need ladders that will allow them to climb up to the top part. You can't use EVA packs.
Can they get into the fairing though? Or when they climb, are they just going to be on the outside?
They're going to be using it after you've landed, right? You don't have to. Man, I don't. That's the thing. Bringing the fairing down to Duna is.
And what's the point? Wait, what's the point of the lander can now? We don't need the lander can, right? Is that ridiculous?
Yeah.
We don't even need that.
If you've got the probe core and the science bay, then yeah, you don't need the lander can.
That makes things easier. And actually, that makes this. That actually changes a lot.
Yeah, you're just focused on that research lab with things attached to the top of it.
Okay.
And,
That totally changes how that fairing works out. See, that was the biggest hurdle that we had right there, was that being stupid. Rather me being stupid. I thought I needed that lander can, and we don't.
it's easy to happen when we're pulling the mission every which way, but it's good that we're honing it in now.
Okay, that looks like a better rocket. Look at that.
It's a good process though, because we've eliminated a lot of mission profiles that weren't necessarily the way to go, but not considering them I think is a mistake.
Yeah, sure. So that looks good there. PJ, welcome. How are you? He's saying get rid of the fairing as soon as it's safe. The thing has a lot of weight, is what Chunk says. But how do I get rid of the fairing without getting rid of the rest of the stuff?
You can. The fairing doesn't detach. When you stage the fairing part, all it does is blast off the thing that's the fairing itself.
So we get rid of the
gray thing.
We get rid of the top, but it doesn't actually detach.
Yeah, the gray thing will remain connected to both the top and the bottom of its parts.
But the shield will just go.
Pop. Yep.
Okay.
And
that will get rid of the weight.
Yes, and the fairing will be heavy. It tells you how heavy it is as you make it.
Yeah. Well, middle click. Actually, you know what? It's the same. When you middle click, it tells you its mass. I just discovered that right just now. That middle clicking these things gives you all sorts of information.
Awesome.
But honestly, the fairing is the same weight, whether it's this big or whether it's as big as I can make it. It's 150 kilograms. So, 0.15. Which, if I'm not mistaken... Okay, no. Not near the science stuff. The science stuff is 0.05. Okay, mystery goo. It's like 3 mystery goo containers. That's what it's worth.
Yeah, it's not bad.
And so, we can make it as big as we want, and it'll be the same. Because, you'll see right here. Oh, let's do that right.
Would it perhaps cover the lab?
It is possible to cover the lab with it.
Because I wasn't aware that there was actually no weight difference. I've made them before, and they've been incredibly heavy after I made a big one, but maybe it was just me being stupid, so...
I almost feel like this needs a little bit of spacing for it to be able to do this thing on properly. And it may not like this with the legs.
Sticking out.
Yeah.
Later, Chunk.
Oh, have a great night, morning, whatever it is for you. .5. I mean, that thing's tall. That covers everything. But I had problems
Wow.
with the landing legs.
That's awesome. That's the same weight. Cool.
So those landing legs still stick out if I do that. And that looks retarded, though. Let's put a heat shield on the bottom of that. Yeah. I don't think we need to do that either. I mean, what is your thoughts on that? Why would we cover that?
The research lab?
Yeah.
It's not necessary. It would, covering the landing gear, which is not possible, would be the biggest part because those stick out. And if it's actually calculating aerodynamics like the way I've heard, then that research lab itself is not as aerodynamic as just like a fuselage. But I can't tell you how many of them I've sent up without putting fairings around. It's not a big deal. So yeah, go for it.
Now, if I do something like that, I just offset them in.
So they're sticking into the lab a little bit.
Yeah, they're in the lab, and now they're inside of the fairing. Now that's something. you might
Yeah.
be able
Just
to do.
make sure on the launch pad that you can deploy them and retract them.
Started me zoom way the hell out. Yep. That looks pretty funny. So they pop right out of the fairing here.
Honestly, probably not worth spending the time on this. If I'm imagining your rocket correctly, you're also putting a 1.25 below the 2.5.
What's that?
Correct.
Yes,
In
yes.
order- yeah.
That is a
And the other thing-
1.25 fairing below the exactly. I don't like it. I'm just showing you. You asked if we could do it. Yes, we can do it. And technically, that kind of worked. Obviously, we didn't want to deploy. I don't know if you saw that. I went ahead and deployed the fairing with the landing legs off, and they kind of stuck, and they made some wobbly stuff. But welcome to Meatwad. Welcome to You're a Donkey. How are you doing? Just testing out some stuff before we do anything.
Yeah, the biggest issue that I realized with that is that you got to have a heat shield below the lab.
The heat shield is it's
Okay.
below the lab. It's below
you were able
it's
to-
below the fairing. It looks really weird. What we've got is the heat shield is down below that fairing. What I had to do to put the fairing on is I put it in a spacer, so we actually have a girder. We've got a little girder. So
Oh god.
the mobile lab is sitting on a girder. Then the fairing is attached to the girder. Then the heat shield is below it. I mean, it looks janky as hell, dude. It's stupid. Oh, it's totally stupid.
So Kerbal.
Yes, it's very Kerbal. That is about the best way you can put that. Yep. But this is the most appropriate design for it. It could be better, but yeah. Actually, straight up cone. Yeah. So Kerbal. Akilo, welcome back. How are you? Gecko, it doesn't look like as jank as my your new Robocraft. Oh, jeez, Robocraft designs. I started Robocraft and I looked at it for like 5 minutes. I was like, nope, not what I want to do. Maybe I can go back to it. I mean, I was in the heart of my Space Engineers playing. I was like, this is not. Nope.
I need to revisit it. I've had fun with it, but it's not something I put a lot of time into. It's just kind of cool for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's I can see some appeal to it. Don't get me wrong, but.
So do I still see a procedural fairing at the top of your rocket?
Yeah, at the top.
What is that sucker covering up?
It's just making this aerodynamic from the Science Junior to the Properdyne and the nose core thing, nose cone. I'm not sure. Do I have a? I don't think I have something. We decided to go with that rather than the adapter. And now that we've done everything that we're doing, the adapter looks like that would have been what I wanted. But I've spent the science, and I don't have the adapter from this tiny. It's less than 1.25, I guess. Because the Properdyne, I don't know what its diameter is, but it's small. Was it pre-MOBA?
I think he's
Robocraft?
asking about. I think he's asking about when I played.
I
don't
didn't know
or
Robocraft went MOBA.
When you played.
I didn't know Robocraft went MOBA. So yeah, it was. I don't know. It was about 8 months ago. Was the last time I played. But like I said, it was 5 minutes. Literally, I got in there and I just kind of looked at the whole, like how you do the building on the first bit. And I was like, nope, don't want to do this.